We learned there are some experts who believe vaccinating young people first is a good idea.
Yes, Vanessa, it depends on who you ask. We did speak with the doctor, an epidemiologist here at Northeastern, who says doctors are discussing this very topic as a potential approach of getting us back to normal sooner, especially with those new variants that Christine was just talking about.
We are in a race against the B.1.1.7 variant. We want to immunize as many people who are at risk of developing severe disease or are at risk of dying.
This has been the approach thus far. In fact, many of the elderly and people at higher risk of death have begun their vaccinations. But with the threat of new variants being the predominant source of spread soon, doctors are asking a tough question. Should we prioritize those considered super spreaders over those more at risk but are also more isolated?
There is a lot of discussion at the moment.
The people at restaurants, airports, on the train, yes, even the ones who have been going to parties during the pandemic. Although it may seem insensitive, the argument is to stop the new variant before it takes over.
My initial thought would be to take care of the most vulnerable first until they get enough vaccine to do everybody.
Who would you, if you had a dose, who would you give it to?
Probably the older folks.
Why?
Well, you're assuming that they're not going to leave their house. And the super spreaders, sure, we can spread it, we'll get sick, but we're most likely going to survive, and we most likely it won't be fatal. So I would prefer to give it to older folks to ensure that my grandparents are still alive at the end of this.
Well, since I've worked in nursing homes and assisted livings all year, and I've seen how many people die from COVID, they definitely need it.
Hospice worker Lori Snyder sees both sides.
People that are young don't think about catching it. They don't care. They don't wear their masks.
Doctors say any decision to reprioritize would depend on one thing.
We don't know if to which extent the vaccine protects from transmitting the disease. And so, you know, the use of the vaccine as a way to stop transmission is something that we have to get more solid data about it.
That epidemiologist saying he wants to see what happens with the new variant. He wants to see when the next doses of vaccine become available. But all of this, Vanessa, all of it, depending on whether or not research proves that the vaccine can stop the spread of any variant.
But Wale, even if vaccines can slow the spread, it sounds like giving priority to younger people would still be a hard sell for a lot of people.
It'll be a hard sell. This is very controversial, Vanessa. Listen, there's people who will say this is unfair. Think about, for example, that grandmother who has been isolated for months, hasn't seen her grandchildren. For her, that she feels that she's doing everything right, she could feel like she's being punished.
Yeah, hopefully they will continue to increase the supply and it will catch up with the demand and everybody can get this vaccine sooner than later. Wale, Aliyu.